The NBA has been going crazy since Thomas made this statement.
No one revealed this about Jordan, but I will.
And we all know that if there's one person that MJ will probably never forgive, it's Isiah Thomas.
There's no way you can convince me he wasn't there.
It's no secret that Thomas and Jordan have a deep hatred for each other that goes way beyond basketball. But today, I'll be giving you all the info and behind-the-scenes details that will shock you. From how Isiah Thomas's jealousy of MJ led to a series of events that led to one of the greatest beefs in NBA history, and the iconic walk-off moment in the Eastern Conference Final. Oh, and wait till you hear the leaked audio that got Isiah Thomas left out from the Dream Team. This will blow your mind like never before. The beef between Isiah Thomas and Michael Jordan started long before it became known to the public. Okay, so imagine you're a top-tier player in Detroit. For you, the league is your backyard. You've battled, bled, and earned respect in the city you play. That was Thomas in the mid-'80s. Detroit was his kingdom. But here's the catch. Michael Jordan, a rookie from North Carolina, stepped into the league with such talent, style, and hype that had never been seen before in the NBA, and jealousy crept in. Thomas had built his identity on toughness. He wasn't the shoe deal superstar. He was the floor general, the grinder, the guy who made Detroit feared. Everyone in the league knew that when the Pistons suited up, they brought the fight. But that toughness was local. It belonged to Detroit's fans, Detroit's bars, and Detroit's gyms. That grit didn't translate to global stardom. It didn't sell sneakers, and it sure didn't get him on magazine covers. And that was the gap that Michael Jordan filled. He went on such a legendary run with the Chicago Bulls, and all of a sudden, the league didn't just want good players anymore. They wanted faces that could sell and personalities that popped. Jordan had all that, and suddenly, the throne wasn't Isiah's anymore. The throne was up for grabs, and the world's spotlight hit Jordan. For Thomas, that had to sting. This wasn't just about losing to a better player. It was about losing relevance and the spotlight in his own city and beyond. He wanted to be the league's next beloved superstar after Bird. But then MJ came and gave the world a vivid picture of what a global NBA superstar looked like. He'd earned some respect through toughness, but now respect came wrapped in global superstardom. And that shift didn't just demand new skills, it demanded a brand. And guess who has the greatest brand the NBA has ever seen? Yeah, you know who. And to make things worse, Isiah reacted to that development in the worst way possible. At Jordan's first All-Star game in 1985, which was a big stage and a huge spotlight for him at the time, rumors say Thomas influenced some other bigger players at the time, and they planned a freeze-out, meaning they kept the ball away from MJ, basically sidelining the rookie on purpose. Thomas, of course, denied masterminding anything. He called the freeze-out story ludicrous and insisted he was too low on the pecking order to lead a conspiracy in a league with legends like Bird, Dr. J, and Moses Malone. But when Peter Vesky, an NBA journalist, interviewed Isiah, Vesky admitted that he may have started the rumor, but he admitted that he started it because Isiah's agent, Dr. Charles Tucker, came to him at halftime and told him that Isiah and the other players were freezing Jordan out. He can deny it all he wants, but this is proof of his own agent admitting it. And from that moment, for Jordan, it wasn't just some rookie hazing, it became personal. But the question still remains, why take out your feelings towards the league's decision on a rookie who didn't know anything about it? We get that you used to be the big guy, sure you were tough, but at that phase in the NBA, it wasn't enough to be tough anymore. The league was evolving, and under the watch of the then Commissioner David Stern, the NBA was becoming not just a sport, but a product. Jordan became the marketing face of this new NBA. He wasn't just playing basketball, he was selling it. I'm talking sneakers, shoes, commercials, highlight reels, the whole package. He elevated the NBA so much that when he first retired in 1993, David Stern said this in an interview.
Thanks, Dan. David, obviously you said it was a happy day for you today, but well, tell me why you thought it was
it was a happy day for me. I said it was a great day for Michael because he's done extraordinary things for our game.
Imagine believing you owned a crown, only for the world to decide someone else looks more like a king. And that new king was a rookie who was coming in with something you could never recreate. Pure star power. And to add to that, Isiah was a Chicago native playing in Detroit. So when Jordan came into Chicago and started dominating, winning the hearts of the fans and getting the attention, it wasn't just about Detroit losing its spotlight. It was about MJ taking his city.
He still want to be Mike. Mike do not want to be your friend, Isiah. I'm telling you for the 5th time. He do not want to be your friend. You know, stay on ESPN, keep talking on TNT. Oh, Mike should, you know, now you're trying to say everybody better than Mike. It's okay. You not better than Mike.
Underneath the toughness, under that Pistons bravado, there was real fear. The fear of becoming irrelevant. Fear of being replaced, of being forgotten, and at its core, jealousy. That slow-burning, bitter envy that doesn't go away. And that jealousy didn't just stop quietly. It spilled onto the court in ways that would define an era. When Isiah's fear of being overshadowed met the Pistons' reputation for intimidation, it sparked something ruthless, because the Pistons didn't just try to guard Jordan, they obsessed over him, studying him and writing a playbook dedicated entirely to breaking him down. The moment Michael Jordan dropped 59 points on the Detroit Pistons in April 1988, something snapped inside the Pistons locker room. It wasn't just, we've got to guard this guy better. It was more, we have to break him. The so-called the Jordan rules, which was not some casual defensive adjustment, but a full-blown war plan, was born.
You guys had what they called the Jordan rules.
We came up with that saying with Jordan because this is what Chuck was saying. If Michael goes to the basket, put his ass on the ground. And I put his ass, because you know, once he up there, you know, you gotta hit him. You gotta hit him. I mean, every time he went to the basket, we hit him.
From that moment on, whenever Jordan had the ball, he wasn't just playing a game, he was the target of a hit squad. Detroit's blueprint was brutal and precise. As John Sally later said, it boiled down to 3 words: push him left.
You guys had something called the Jordan rule. Talk to us about that.
Push him left. That's your Jordan rule right there. That's all I'm allowed to give away.
It's still top secret.
Every time Jordan touched the ball, up top on the wing or near the post, the plan was the same. Double him, trap him, and steer him into traffic or toward the weakest side, clog the lane, and mess up his rhythm. If he tried to drive, big men like Bill Laimbeer or Dennis Rodman were waiting to meet him hard, often with the most dangerous fouls you could think of. They treated him like more than an opponent, like he was a threat to their success. The mantra was simple: no easy touches, no flow, and no comfort. The bad boys, led by Isiah Thomas, didn't just want to beat Jordan, they wanted to bruise him mentally and physically. But here's what they didn't plan for. While the Pistons and Isiah Thomas were busy designing a playbook soaked in spite, Jordan kept showing up with bruised bodies and a battered ego, but still rising. Game after game, he fought through the hits, the double teams, and the fouls. And he responded the only way he knew how, by refusing to be beaten. He trained harder, built more muscle, sharpened his game, and gradually rewrote the rules. By the time 1991 rolled around, the Chicago Bulls weren't just a team built around Jordan, they had become a well-oiled machine. After sweeping the Detroit Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals, they cleared the path to the NBA Finals, where they crushed the Los Angeles Lakers 4-1 to claim their first championship. Oh, and speaking of that sweep, during the game against the Pistons at the Eastern Conference Finals, Chicago was up 115-94, with just 7.9 seconds left, and what did Thomas do? Instead of showing respect to the team that just handed Detroit their first series loss in years, he led a walk-off.
A great run has come to a close. With 4:38 remaining in this 4th quarter, now Isiah runs out to center court.
No handshakes and no acknowledgement, just pure bitterness and ego on display.
You know, it's time enough to think about it. Or the reaction of the public that's kind of changed his perspective of it. You can show me anything you want.
Some Pistons like Joe Dumars and John Sally stayed behind to quietly shake hands, but Thomas's refusal stole the spotlight, making it crystal clear that this was personal. The bitterness wasn't unfounded, at least in Thomas's mind. Jordan had reportedly called Detroit undeserving champions before the game. But let's be honest, after all they did to him with the Jordan rules, he had every right to make that statement. The fallout from that walk-off was brutal, and the media didn't hold back. Bulls players like Horace Grant and Scottie Pippen called the walk-off childish, and Jordan himself brushed it off. Meanwhile, Thomas would carry that grudge for decades while publicly complaining and trying to rewrite history. But for Jordan, it was fuel, because if you're a proper Jordan fan, you know that every slight and every foul from Detroit only sharpened him, made him tougher, and propelled him toward the throne he was always destined to claim. And that throne is exactly what Isiah Thomas couldn't stand. I mean, how is it that he set his whole team against one man, and that man still came out on top as the greatest basketball player of all time? To make things worse, Isiah Thomas has never exactly hidden how much Michael Jordan got under his skin. Years after the Pistons dynasty crumbled, he was still talking about Jordan like a kid who just got outshined on the playground. There's this clip you've got to see. Yeah, this one.
Everybody kissed his feet, but I refused to. That's why he hated me.
And just like that, he admitted to the one thing that's behind all of this: his jealousy. But what he didn't know was that no one kissed MJ's feet. They respected him because he simply destroyed everyone else on the court. Fast forward to May 2020. He hopped on the Fox Sports program Speak for Yourself and casually claimed that Michael Jordan never really beat Larry Bird or Magic Johnson.
Michael Jordan didn't beat Larry Bird. You showed Michael Jordan going between his legs one time in the highlights, against Larry Bird. And that was the game he got 63.
That's when he dropped 63 on Bird, yes.
He literally tried to rewrite history, putting himself in the center and Jordan somewhere off to the side. Then there's the interview with Shannon Sharpe, where he went even further and said he dominated Jordan and that MJ wasn't even competition.
Just head to head, I was dominant over him. When our teams met, when you go back and you look at until 91, when I basically had career-ending wrist surgery, my record against him and his team, it really was a competition there.
It's jaw-dropping because the numbers, the rings, the finals, and the dominance, everything we've seen completely contradicts him. And that's the thing about Isiah. Decades later, he's still trying to stake a claim in someone else's legacy. He walks around acting like he was the main obstacle, like he was the equal, when everyone who watched the games saw the truth. Jordan wasn't just better, he redefined what greatness looked like. Even Scottie Pippen called him out. Pippen didn't hold back. He called Isiah bitter and ungrateful, a guy who refuses to give Jordan the respect he earned on every single court he ever played on.
I find that comment there just hating. I've never seen this guy embrace or thank Michael Jordan for what he's done for the game.
And honestly, it makes you shake your head a little. Here's a guy who once ruled the East, who had his moment in the sun, now running around decades later trying to convince everyone that the GOAT wasn't actually that great. So yeah, the whole "I refuse to kiss his feet" line, it's almost funny if it wasn't so obvious. It perfectly sums up his mindset: stubborn, bitter, and unable to face reality. But you know one thing about the NBA, and just life in general. Believe it or not, karma exists, and Isiah Thomas also dealt with his fair share. Now here's the part where the story gets messy, because in 1992, just 1 year after the walk-off incident at the finals, the NBA created the biggest super squad in basketball history: the 1992 United States Olympic men's basketball team, aka the Dream Team. This team consisted of all-stars, legends, the best of the best. And yet one name was conspicuously missing: Isiah Thomas. Even though he'd won 2 rings and was coached by Chuck Daly, the same guy who would coach the Dream Team. And the thing is, on paper, he had the credentials: 2 NBA titles and multiple All-Star appearances, but when the roster dropped in September 1991, and then the last spots were finalized in May 1992, his name never got called. Officially, the team said they needed guys who could fit well into the team with no drama, and guards like John Stockton looked cleaner on paper and had less baggage and less risk. But that clean resume angle always felt like a cover, because we all know why he didn't get picked. What did people expect? The guy had a reputation, and that reputation got him uninvited to the party because he had fought with everyone who could have brought him onto the team. Magic, Jordan, Pippen, and the others. This wasn't about skill anymore. It was about history, grudges, and pride. In fact, Pippen admitted it boldly.
Well, I can't speak for Michael, but no, I did not want him to change.
And even though he says he couldn't speak for MJ, in 2011, an audio clip surfaced of MJ allegedly telling committee member Rod Thorne, "I won't play if Isiah Thomas is on the team."
They called me to ask me to play. Rod Thorne called me and said, "Rod, I won't play if Isiah Thomas is on the team."
Imagine that. The greatest player of that era himself basically saying, "You can't sit with us." But let's talk stats for a second, because the team was officially justified by picking the other players over Isiah Thomas. By 1992, Isiah Thomas was averaging around 19.2 points, 9.3 assists, and 3.6 rebounds per game for his career. And John Stockton, by comparison, was hitting 14.5 points and 10.5 assists per game, while Clyde Drexler was putting up 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. Even Jason Kidd and Chris Mullin could offer steady production with less drama. So yes, there was a basketball excuse, but it doesn't hold when you remember what Thomas brought to the table. He checked every box on paper except actually being wanted. And let's be honest, the man had burned a lot of bridges, and that was just the NBA karma doing its job. And it hurt him so bad that he's still talking about it decades later. In 2020, he called it the biggest hole in his resume. He's still shocked, still bitter, and still trying to justify why he belonged on the team. But the reality is, his own actions built the wall that kept him out. So yeah, you could imagine a what-if scenario. What if Isiah had made it? Would the dream team have lost? Probably not. Jordan, Magic, Bird, and Malone, that was too much firepower for anyone to stop. But it would have added a layer of grit, a fighter who wasn't afraid to mix it up, to shake things physically and mentally. Maybe the chemistry would have been messier. Maybe it wouldn't. But that's the thing. It wasn't about what he could do on the court anymore. It was about how he made everyone else feel, and that's why he stayed home. So fast forward to 2020. At this point, Michael Jordan's legacy was already untouchable. The rings, the stats, and the records were all immortalized. And then comes The Last Dance, ESPN's 10-part documentary that let the world peek behind the curtain of Jordan's dynasty. For most of us, it was a celebration. But for Isiah Thomas, it was like tossing salt on a decades-old wound. Because suddenly, everything that he had tried to rewrite in his mind, the "I was as good as MJ" stories, the Dream Team grudge, the Pistons walk-off, all of it was up on screen for the whole world to see. And Jordan, calm as ever, narrated it with a smile. The documentary showed him dominating, clutching, laughing, and commanding respect effortlessly. Meanwhile, Isiah, who spent years publicly claiming he was the guy MJ couldn't beat, got dragged back into the spotlight, exactly as the world remembers him, jealous, defensive, and obsessed with what Jordan achieved. And just as expected, a couple of weeks after, he started to pop up on interviews, podcasts, media spots, anything with a camera and mic. On ESPN and NBA TV, on Vlad TV, on Club Shay Shay, even Jalen and Jacoby, you name it. He was out there, doing his best to convince everyone that Michael Jordan's legendary career somehow doesn't measure up to his own greatness. And the irony was that every time he opened his mouth, he just highlighted the fact that he could never truly compete with MJ. Meanwhile, the documentary itself didn't even need to defend Jordan. MJ's legacy did the talking already. Every time Isiah tried to insert himself into the narrative, the evidence against him was right there on screen. MJ's 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, 5 regular season MVPs, and a global cultural influence that Isiah could only dream of matching. For MJ, the past is the past. He's built, won, and evolved beyond it. For Isiah, he turned every opportunity to show respect into bitterness, and The Last Dance just put the spotlight on it for everyone to see, in high definition. So, if you really want to understand why Isiah Thomas could never stop hating Michael Jordan, you've got to look at the bigger picture. It wasn't just the Pistons walk-offs, the Jordan rules, or the Dream Team snub. It was deeper than that. Michael Jordan became everything Isiah wanted to be. The face of the league, a global icon, a cultural phenomenon, universally loved. Jordan didn't just dominate games. He dominated hearts, minds, sneakers, ads, magazines, everything. Isiah had built his empire on toughness and grit in Detroit. But MJ? He built a universe around himself. Now let's talk numbers, because if you're trying to argue about skill or accomplishments, stats don't lie. Jordan averaged 30.1 points, 6.2 rebounds, and 5.3 assists per game over his career. While Thomas averaged around 19.2 points and 3.6 rebounds, MJ was a force of nature. And it wasn't just the regular season. In the playoffs, Jordan averaged 33.4 points per game, and in the finals, he went 6-0, taking home all 6 finals MVPs. Meanwhile, Thomas had 2 championships in '89 and '90, but when he went head-to-head with Jordan, that's where things got messy. In the 1991 Eastern Conference Finals, Detroit got swept 4-0. Jordan dropped nearly 30 points per game, clutch shot after clutch shot, while Thomas fought dirty, yet couldn't stop the machine. That's the difference. And this wasn't just numbers. Look at the style and the persona. Jordan didn't just win games, he sold basketball. Look at all the sneakers, commercials, Air Jordans, and highlight reels. The man was everywhere. He didn't just play, he became the sport. While Thomas stayed a Detroit legend, a local champion, he was loved locally, but the world outside Detroit didn't care. And that was real. Because suddenly, the crown he thought he owned in Detroit was out of reach. And the thing is, it wasn't just about stats or rings. It was about clutch. Jordan thrived when everything was on the line. Every playoff buzzer beater, every fadeaway jumper, every finals performance said, "I'm the best." But Thomas? He could play, but he couldn't match that sustained, era-defining dominance. Jordan was a machine. Thomas, even at his best, was just another good player. Which brings us to why this whole thing is personal. Every dunk, every championship, and every cultural milestone Jordan achieved was a reminder to Thomas that he got passed over. Not because he wasn't good, but because the world loved Jordan more. And you can't blame us for picking MJ. Let's put them both side by side. Jordan is a 6-time Finals MVP, 5-time MVP, 14-time All-Star, 10 scoring titles, 10 All-NBA first-team selections, 10-time All-Defensive Team selections, 2 Olympic gold medals, led the Dream Team, is a global icon, while Thomas is a 1-time Finals MVP, 12-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA first-team selections, 3-time All-Defensive Team selections, 1 Olympic gold, and it's not even with the Dream Team. Their resumes are not even close. So yeah, that's why Isiah could never just admit it. MJ wasn't just better on the court, he owned everything else. The spotlight, the brand, and the global fame. Isiah had grit and rings, but Jordan had legacy, superstardom, and the world at his feet. Every stat, every finals, and every highlight screams it, and that's why, decades later, the bitterness is still there. But here's the real question. How do you compete with a man who was destined to be the greatest?